My name is Bob Browno. I'm a re-recording mixer and sound designer, and probably the most difficult show that I work on is Deadliest Catch, because we've got engine hum, wind noise, distortion, lots and lots of overmodulation. Pretty much anything you could think of, we get, because there are no sound people on the boats. So there's nobody with a boom pole, no one with a mixer, nobody listening at all. All we get is what comes off of their lavs, and occasionally we've got a deck mic or a camera mic. So in a way, it's sort of liberating, because that's the best. I know the crap that I have is the best I have. So so at least I have got a place to go from there. And so tonight I want to talk a little bit about that and about RX in general, as well as RX4, because RX is so much more than just everything. Actually, RX4 has got a lot of neat stuff, but the whole package is wonderful. Now, I'm assuming a lot of you guys work in post-production or in studios. Have you ever met this guy? He runs in and says, "Oh man, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here, man. I just got off the plane from Peru. We got this amazing footage. You're going to love it. Oh my God. We got this. It was at a cafe. We had these musicians that were playing, and it's just beautiful. Oh, there were some birds there, and they kind of sucked. Yeah, that's fine. And then there was a truck, and the truck started backing up right in the middle of the piece. But you can fix that, right? Right? I'll be back in an hour." Yeah, he brings you this. So you get the idea. Now the good thing is you won't need an hour. You'll probably need about 5 minutes. And this is where the voodoo comes in, because when I was starting in this business, the stuff that you're going to see tonight was basically witchcraft. Now, what you're seeing up there is the standard waveform display. We're all used to that. Enter the spectrogram. It looks a little weird, but it's so much easier to know what you're dealing with. For example, these guys right here are birds. If we want, we can... One of my favorite little features on RX is being able to play just what you've highlighted. So we know we've got the birds. Very quickly we can use our spectral repair tool to get rid of those. So at this point we've got so there we go. The birds are gone, but we still have this nasty little piece of business here. Now here's something that I think is really cool. There are all sorts of different selection tools. This one obviously is the horizontal one. One of my favorites is the magic wand, because it finds things that you can't find. The other nice thing about it is what it will also find. If you click once on the beep, click twice, it finds all the harmonics. So no messing around with any of that. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing because it might be really boring. But basically I will attenuate them using a spectral repair tool, and basically that's going to get rid of them while not leaving a big hole. I did a lot of processes on this one. I won't bore you, but basically what we ended up with was this. So there you have it. No more beeps, no more birds, and now you are a huge hero to that client. Unfortunately, he's going to come back to you with more crap, but at least you get the business. So Deadliest Catch is probably one of the most challenging shows that I've had to work on, probably since Monster Garage, which was also pretty crazy. So, because if you think about recording stuff in what basically amounts to a box made out of concrete, you get what we're saying. So here's a really fun example of the kind of stuff I have to deal with on Deadliest Catch.
I wouldn't pee outside, that's how cold it is.
Can you hear the bad stuff in there? Okay. Well, we're going to get rid of all of it. Oh, yes. I see they've taken out the... you guys have taken out the spectral repair tool. Now we just go right to izrx4 connect. Okay. Okay, so here we go.
I wouldn't pee outside, that's how cold it is.
Well, the nice thing about the spectrogram is you can see very clearly exactly what it is that's bumming you out. We'll just start with a really quick selection and see what goes. Now we're listening just to that.
Pee outside, that's how cold it is.
So we've gotten rid of some of it. If we really want to go a little bit more drastic, we can do that. And
I wouldn't pee outside, that's how cold it is.
one more little piece down here. Now you've got rid of all of that mic noise, and it's taken you hardly any time at all, which is big for me because mic noise is a really huge, huge problem for me. Because the winds they've got out there, you know, they can get up to 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. So wind is a real horrible thing. One of the other things that I've had to deal with a lot is clipping. You guys ever have to deal with clipping? Yeah. How's about this? Yeah. You know these guys, right? The crew cut? Now, this is a nice example of how we can use the declipper very, very simply to start. A couple times like that, and we've. Now we still have the underlying tone, so all we have to do is send it over to RX. No, I don't want to save it. Attenuate it. And you can go on from there. The neat thing about it is it's very, very quick and very, very intuitive. And actually, I want to show you one. Do you guys ever have to deal with like lots of clicks in your tracks? Excellent. Not for you, but good because I've got an example of that. Clicks are nasty little bit of business. Oh.
Memories are going out 360,000 into the island. I relived.
No, we're not even hearing it there. Let me see if I can find you some better clicks. Let's send it over here and see if we can see the clicks. There they are.
We're trying to get this quota of the 360,000 into the island caught.
You guys hearing the clicks out there? Yeah. Okay, good, because I'm not hearing them up here. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do, especially if I'm just down here in the audio suite land. I pick up the declicker. Now, here is I'm going to let you guys in a secret that I know iZotope hates me telling this, but I'm going to do it anyway. They have a lot of amazing presets. They don't mind me telling you that because they're basically most situations that you're going to run into, you've got a great starting point with any of their presets. However, they do have one hidden preset that they hide it in plain sight, but most people don't know. It's called factory default. And that's usually my go-to. So on something like this,
We're trying to get this quota of 360,000 into the island.
I revamped.
I didn't even change anything from the default of the way it came up. And we'll get up our spectrogram again, and you can see. There we go. All of our clicks are gone. It's taken, less than a second. And I remember the days when this would take forever and ever and ever and ever. Here's another fun thing that we wind up with a lot is squeaks. There was a show that I did a while ago called The Colony, and they were building a windmill out of this bicycle. Now, granted, being sort of a reality show, I certainly could have said, yeah, well, let's let that go because, it's real. It was happening there. But it just bummed me out. So I had pulled it up in our RX here. And once again, you can see where all the squeaks are. It simply takes our magic wand tool, one click. Why are you not working for me? There you go. There we go. So we'll just grab a smattering of them. Oh. So a quick run through, and you can still see there's a little bit still in there, and if we take a little bit more time, which we don't really have tonight, you can go through with each of those little guys and just get rid of them. So once again, this to me is voodoo because we've never ever been able to do this sort of stuff until these big brains from Isotope came along. Now, I kind of want to make this a bit of a two-way conversation. So if you guys have any questions or want any clarification, please feel free to just as long as it doesn't get out of hand. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just sitting up here babbling. Yeah. What that is make the surrounding region big. The 2D lets what RX is doing is it's looking before and after the sound. So when it attenuates it, it needs to put something back in there. You just can't have big holes in there. So it looks before the sound and after the sound. It also looks in the higher frequencies and the lower frequencies. That's what 2D is. It gives you a pretty comprehensive look. If you just want vertical, you can do just vertical. If you just want to do horizontal, you can do horizontal. So it basically tells you where RX is looking to find the media that you are looking for. Let's run over here. Who works? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that's an RX5. I think that'll be RX5. Now, to some degree, I do use it to eliminate certain profanity if it's getting in the way. If we have a big line of dialogue and someone's saying "shit" in the background, and instead of doing a big bleep, I can usually cover enough of that line and leave the rest of the dialogue. You can get pretty comprehensive as far as stuff that you want to remove. Like this sound is an off-road vehicle about to start running, and someone was using a thank you, an air horn. The exact same thing that we did before. Select them and process. This one I went through a few times. And then toward the end, basically, you have so if you have a lot of horns and your M&E track consists of not horns, you're golden. Yeah?
Is that harmonic feature new to 4, or is that always?
Nope. I think that's been in there since 2. Or certainly it's been in there. It's certainly been in there 3. Yeah.
General noise reduction, like you've got a line of dialogue, it's just varying noise, and you don't really have handles of noise without dialogue.
Ah, that is an awesome question. And I will show you exactly what I do for that, because RX has a plan for all of this. Yeah, it's called default. All right, let's get to where we were going here. Okay, well, let me just play you a little bit of this. Play, I tell you, play.
Sand dune, big dog.
So, basically,
Sand dune, big dog.
sand dune, big dog, sand dune. That's what we want to hear. Right before it, we have a director saying, tell them what's going on. And before it, we have a little ambience, but it's not the same. It's a little bit deeper. So here's what I like to do. Now, I know there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. This is just sort of the way I like to do it. I'm going to take this audio right here, and I'm going to use that as our fill. Now, that sounds pretty stupid, huh? However, this is where the magic's going to start. Ambience match. So all I have to do is click Learn. Output the ambience. Now, well, that's true. But then all you get is the backgrounds. But you won't get all the Foley. What this is doing is it basically is looking past the dialogue, seeing what the backgrounds are, and then it can basically synthesize any length that I need. That'll put it back here where it belongs.
Sand dune, big dog.
So you can basically create as much fill as you need.
Sand dune, big dog.
Not bad for a few seconds work. Now, RX is really as deep as it is wide, so there is so much under the hood that there's no way I could tell you all about today. However, what I'd like to show is just how quickly it does all this stuff. The other thing that I tend to use the ambience match for a lot would be something like this.
Fuck yeah, they are.
Yeah, they don't like us using that language.
Fuck yeah, they are. Fuck yeah, they are.
So, fuck yeah, they are. Now, let's assume we didn't have any fill, or we couldn't get it, or even if we did have some fill, I think that the fill around the actual line is the best, because that's actually what was there.
Fuck.
Exactly. So what we do is use our RX Connect plugin, which basically is a fancy way of getting audio out to the standalone version of RX and back into Pro Tools. The reason that's really cool is because RX plugins, I use them all the time, and they're my primary go-to. However, because of Pro Tools limitations and Avid constraints, there are certain things they can't do. So the ability to take this little piece of audio and send it over to RX standalone is genius, because this has got so much more horsepower to do all the crazy stuff that we need. Exactly. So we'll learn that. And basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to process it, render it, throw it back. Make a little fade.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so that is ambience made from nothing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, do it again.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Fuck yeah. No. Sure.
Your mixer on it? Yeah. Okay, so you get your dubs, or at least your stems. Do you have them throw sort of the dirtiest tracks into a certain area that you can attack first?
Well, I don't get stems, really. I mean, I basically get, we get an OMF that's usually 5 or 6 channels of dialogue and a lot of other stuff. We've got sound editors that make the first pass, which will go through and find the best stuff. Then they'll take the other stuff that's not as good, put it on a dump track adjacent to it so I can always access it. And then I have what basically is the best stuff, the best soundtrack we have for the dialogue. Now on Catch, is the only show I do this with. I take a full day, 10 plus hours, and do nothing but noise reduction on that. Yeah, because every single piece of audio in Catch needs to have some sort of noise reduction done to it. Be it either just the real-time dialogue denoising, hum is terrible, and almost everything has hum in it, and it changes depending on where you are in the boat. The wheelhouse hum is one thing, underneath is another thing, when you're outside it's another thing. So basically, I can't start mixing till I have as clean a dialogue track as I can get. So that's
Processing outside of your handles for the suite stuff. Yeah. The whole track.
oh no, well no, each.
You're showing only like a clip. Are you going outside underneath? You know, the audio suite and the level.
Yeah, I always put handles on there. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I believe I have one of our fun hums. Let's see. Season. Where is our good one? Now let's go back to I don't want to listen to music. There we go. I've got a really nice hum here.
Last part of the season.
Most dialogue I get is...
Last part of the season.
It's like that, or some varying degree of different frequencies of tone like that. So there's a couple ways to go about dealing with this. Originally, you can highlight it and go to your spectral repair tool and attenuate it. That's going to take a lot of it out.
Last part of the season.
Now we can adjust how much it takes out, but I would rather use a filter instead of the spectral repair for that. So the filters on here are very, very cool. One thing about them that I think is also really awesome, and I just did it. You see that? I'll go back. Something that I screamed about, because I said, one of the guys at Isotope said, if you had the perfect plug-in, what would it be? And I said, it would be a hum remover that can hear the hum and get rid of it for me. I mean, I figured it knows where the hum is. It knows the frequency. I want it to do it. That's what computers are good at. They're much smarter than I am. So basically, here's our...
Last part of the season.
I've got this set in adaptive mode. I'm just going to hit it once. That's in default.
Last part of the season. Last part of the...
Now, granted, that's taking a little bit more than I would usually take out of it, but...
Last part of the season.
With that and a little spectral repair, you can see how quickly it's going to find those frequencies and just get rid of them for you. I'm sorry?
That was 3, 2, or just 4?
Just 4.
Just 4.
It came out in 4. Oh, yeah.
Nathan online has a question. He says, how much do you try to eliminate noise, and at one point do you let other elements cover it up?
Basically, what most people will tell you, which I do, is I will process the noise until it sounds wrong. And then I'll start backing it off a couple of steps. And I would rather have some noise in there than have something sound like it's swimming around in a fishbowl. Reason being, the human ear is very, very well attuned to pick up differences. So basically, if you have two pieces of dialogue and one is dirty and one's really clean, the human ear is going to pick that up really quickly. If we don't clean them too much, it's going to go right by. You'll hear it, and you won't notice anything. Because for the kind of work that we do, if we do our job well, nobody should know that we were ever there. Which is a bit of a problem when management says, "What the hell do you do here anyway?" I mean, I heard the song, I heard the stuff on TV. It sounds fine. I don't know what the problem is. Yeah, basically, I use my ears and I go until it's too much, and then I just start bringing it back to a place where I think, okay, I can live with this, because I know on a show like Catch, I also have I've got waves, I've got engine noise that I add in. These are all things that I've pulled from the ships, but those make up part of our background track and our M&E, and I can use that to cover for any sorts of other problems that we have. I know it's funny. I'm spending all this time taking engine noise and hum out, and then I'm just putting it right back in. But at least the engine noise that I'm putting in has got nice waves in it and no hum, and you can control it. I hope that answered the question. Yeah.
What about, how do you deal with dialogue that has a car going by over it because the pitch changes and it's broadband?
That would be, well, I'll be honest, I haven't tried the adaptive hum remover on that sort of a situation, but I have, let's see if we can hear this. I have used it for getting rid of sirens, which is like that, only worse. Let me pull up a window here so we can see the video. Now, this is from the Colony. It's a short little clip. It was all they would let me use. But it supposedly takes place in post-apocalyptic New Orleans, and no one else is around, so there should not be sirens. There also shouldn't have been an ice cream truck there, but that guy came every day until he got paid off.
96.8. 96.8. 96.8.
So you can hear that back there. Now, this is kind of a favorite of mine because I did this in RX2. I did this before they had any of these cool selection tools, and all we had
96.8
were little boxes. And basically, I went through the entire wave and attenuated every little piece of it till we wound up with
96.8.
no more siren.
96.8. 96.8.
Now, something like that does take time. So some things are not as quick as others, but these kinds of things they're worth the time, because for this particular shot, the showrunner was just beside himself because he had to have this shot in the show. He could not have the siren. He did not know what he was going to do. So I spent the time on this and, watched his jaw drop. And he thought I was a god, which was very nice. And he got the shot that he wanted. I mix another show called, what is it called? Storage Wars. There we are. And I was mixing that for a while. And we'll start at the end. There was a a scene where one of the guys, in one of the lockers, he found a nugget of gold. So he wanted to find out, well, is it real gold? What is it? So the only way they can tell is by melting it down. So here he is talking with the guy about melting it down.
So what degrees does gold melt at?
2,000 degrees, it'll start melting.
2,000.
2,000 degrees.
2 with 3 zeros.
2 with 3 zeros.
You can hear that, right? Right, yeah. Well, the smelter was going at that time. So this is what the track that they sent me was.
So what degrees does gold melt at?
Yeah, that's pretty much that's what I got for that. But that was simply a matter of going in, using hum removal and spectral repair. See, the first pass of hum removal got rid of all the bass notes.
So what degrees does gold melt at?
Then I went individual tone after individual tone. And what's kind of cool here is you can see how the magic wand tool selects, but it's not selecting in a straight line. It's actually following the contour of the noise. Now, I used to think, well, yeah, that's really cool, but, what if it only gets part of it? So, in many circumstances, what you can do is use the big tool to highlight it, then hit it with the magic wand tool, and it gets rid of everything else that doesn't belong there, and it focuses just on that one particular frequency. So you can see as we went across, down, 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 getting rid of everything, to when we finally got to a point where we could.
So what degrees does gold melt at?
2,000 degrees, it'll start melting.
Now, this was kind of fun because it was a video editor that was asking me about this, and he said, man, I've been working for 2 hours with EQ to get rid of this. And it basically sounded like this with lots of tone going through it. So I took that as a personal challenge. Luckily, it was just one scene in the show, so I didn't have to do it the whole time. But that, if that were every scene in the show, it would kind of be like Deadliest Catch. Yeah?
Yeah, off-mic guy in this. How would you make it sound a bit more on-mic? Use de-reverb or something?
Yeah, let me get de-reverb. De-reverb is another awesome tool. Let me find my example here. There we go.
Driver I know. He drives a tow truck. Driver I know. He drives a tow truck. Getting people unstuck, that's what he does for a living. There ain't no problem he can't figure out.
Now, I can't hear this very well back there, but are you hearing the room in that guy? Now, this is one of... Oh.
My brother's the best driver I know. He drives a tow truck. Getting people unstuck, that's what he does for a living.
No, that isn't terrible. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of reverby things that I got to deal with. But the thing that made this one particularly unacceptable for me is it was an interview, but it was shot in a warehouse in front of a green screen. And the green screen was outdoors. So I'll just show you real quickly how it works, and then I'll show you a really extreme example. There's our de-reverb module. And I love learn features because you don't have to find or select any bit of reverb or tails of audio or whatever. Just click learn over the entire thing. And
my brother's the best driver I know. He drives a tow truck.
We got to do this.
My brother's the best driver I know. He drives a tow truck. My brother's the best driver I know.
Okay. So basically what it's done is it's gotten itself a print of the
My
reverb.
brother's the best driver I know. He drives a tow truck. My brother's the best driver I know.
So there's our little bit of reverb.
Truck. My brother's the best driver I know. He drives a tow truck. My brother's the best driver I know. He drives a tow truck.
And that did just enough that I needed so that people aren't going to say, well, this is weird. He sounds like he's in a big room, but he's supposed to be out in the forest. So I have another real extreme example that I was having some fun with. Yeah. Let me find... There we go. How's that? Excellent. Yeah, that's got too much. Too much reverb. So, yeah, too much sauce in the sauce. So, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. You're right by that thing, huh? You should have brought earplugs. See if I can... Okay. These are supposed to work. I really apologize. All right, let's get it to learn this now. Actually, I always get confused between using the standalone and effects. I'm going to send this over to the big RX so you can actually see it. There we go. There we go. Hide the learn button from me. Okay, now it's learned the reverb. Let's see how much of it we got. Go a little bit more. So something like this, I would process it once, and then I would go through a number of different times. That's a little bit too much. However, you could cut the tail off of that, and you would have a very much less reverby sort of thing. What this is also kind of neat for, you can use it as an audio zoom. Basically, in real time, if someone is very far away and they actually have a lot of room and the shot pans in, you can start pulling out reverb in real time until you get close enough. So that's pretty fun too.
Processing better when you do the round trip versus the ones that you have as audio suites?
I don't see a big difference, except there are some things that require the power of the standalone that do not yet happen in the audio suite plugins, like ambience matching. That's pretty complicated. So
that's not a round trip.
That is a round trip,
but it's not a regular. It's unlimited.
You don't have 30 seconds.
But that's by itself. You have to open it as a separate app and do it.
You have to do it through the RX Connect.
The Connect.
Are there any music editors here? Okay. Anyone that gets delivered music? It's not very good. Have you ever gotten one of these? Did you hear it or not hear it? Okay. Well, that's going to be a real pain in the butt. So, first thing I would do is let's just highlight our area there. very quickly. I'm not even going to set anything. I'm just going to tell it to replace. Ugh. And that's going to sound pretty bad. Unless you're doing a dance mix. Then it's awesome. This is really what I wanted to show you. Pattern. Here, let's listen again. And once again, that was my secret setting default. This is one of the really cool things that RX will do. It's called pattern because what it does is it looks to what it can see, looks to what's around it, then it says, what is the most likely pattern that should have been here? Once again, the computer being smarter than me, which is the way I like it. And that's exactly what it does. And this has helped me through so many terrible music problems. Yeah?
It's really interesting. Does it have a window that you can select of time, and will it do different patterns based on the length of window that it has to analyze?
That's a great question. Let's do an experiment. I have no idea what will happen here. So I saw this once in a cartoon, but I'm pretty sure I can do it. Now, because it's looking at that whole piece, and that is part of the piece, but not everything. So
you can't select that small area there and tell it to take a pattern from another area?
well, I can select this small area and tell it to find a pattern from another area. When I was doing the big selection, it was music and a dropout. So it was looking for music and a dropout someplace. So it works much better with smaller drop.
Section, and then you take those sliders on the top. Can it look for it, like the surrounding region? Would that work?
That's kind of what I was getting at.
What do you? I don't understand what you're trying to do.
It's like if you highlight that little section, but then you move that slider so it looks for things.
You just corrected the problem perfectly. What is it?
Well, every time I make the surrounding length bigger,
No, I just don't understand.
I like the result less. But you know, the nice thing about this is you can play around with it until you get exactly what you want. In the kind of work that I do, unfortunately, I don't get as much time as I would like. So I need something that is going to fix it in 1 second so I can get back to the mix or whatever else I am doing, because they just don't give me very much time. But I'm sure you guys all have the same thing. Yeah.
So when you do the ambience match thing, obviously there can be all kinds of different ambiences throughout the dialogue that you constantly are revisiting when they go back to those clips, especially with Frankenbites and whatnot. Can iZotope keep a bank of these ambience matches for you so you don't have to round trip them every time, even though you've been to that same ambience before?
Well, you can basically generate that ambience, and you can name it, and then it becomes a region. It becomes a clip, and you can name it anything you want and grab it
when access it when you get back to it.
Now, because you brought that up, yeah, there are things that for ambience matching. See if we can get back to wherever the hell we were. Come on.
People unstuck.
Well, let's just pull something like we had before.
Right here. Oh, you lost the frame right here.
Okay. For something like this, basically, if you want to make it really easy, I just cut that down to another track, send this. So here's our line.
Oh, you lost the frame right here.
Ambience match. learn, process, and send back. And we render it. Oh, this was over here. So with, dealing with your levels, that is a really nice way to, it's a very subtle thing that doesn't have any loops in it, and it really fills in the gaps really, really well. So if it's something that might change over time, I may do a few of them, or I may just take the whole line and say, look at all this, look at everything in here, and give me your best approximation of, and that's what it gave me. And usually the first time I do it works. Yeah?
Have you played with the EQ match or had a chance to use it at all?
Yeah. Let's go to EQ match. Now, EQ match is something that I usually have to deal with a lot in Catch, but in this particular show, they actually did it pretty well. But let's take a listen to this.
You're going to be depressed and somebody says you're going to die in 2 years. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through. I relived.
Okay, this middle piece right there, you can tell was recorded on a different microphone in a different place.
Depressed and somebody says you're going to die in 2 years. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through. I relived.
So anyone that works in reality TV knows all about the dreaded Frankenbites. And this can save a lot of them. The other thing this is really good for is voiceover. Basically, maybe you get a voiceover track. We used to get this a lot with Mike Rowe. He travels around, so every session's from a different studio. So he may give us one session from one studio, and then a week later, he's somewhere else and say, hey, we got some pickups. And of course, no one ever says, read the whole line again. They just read this word. Read 300 miles. Just that. Yeah, we got the rest. And this works really, really well for that. But let's actually do it. So this is a little bit different. This piece of dialogue right here,
And somebody says you're going to die in 2 years.
I think that sounds fine.
The memories of going out with Super.
Not happy with that. So I'm going to send this to RX as a reference. That's going to be what it's going to look at. And this is going to be the actual audio that I want to play with. So now I'm going to send that to repair. Okay. So here's our reference.
Yeah, you're going to be depressed and somebody says you're going to die in 2 years.
I'm sorry I picked such a depressing clip. Oops, what the hell happened there? Now the actual, go away.
The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through.
Okay, so you basically want to match the EQ from this one and put it on the other. Okay, so we're going to hit Learn. Now it basically has an EQ print of it. Now for this, I'm going to compare it because I don't know exactly what I want. And the neat thing about compare is you can do a bunch of different amounts of EQing and see which one you like best. So
the memories of going out with
the original.
Super Jeep got me through. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through.
Now if I'm doing this, I think, well, what is it going to sound like with a little bit more? I can just increase it, compare.
The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through.
So when it finally gets, to exactly where you want it, throw it back.
2 years, the memories of going out with...
Oh, I guess if you render it, it works better, doesn't it? Yeah.
He says, you're going to die in 2 years. The memories of going out with Super Jeep got me through.
So we're pretty close right there. And that was doing it with my ears closed. So,
On your repaired clip, or is it literally just?
it's just that. I would come back and adjust the level.
Out with Super Jeep.
But it's a great tool. Now, something else that's kind of cool here that I did not get to on that last one, and I want to find Shelby now.
Out with Super.
And to capture Brian today, I'm gonna bring Belinda and Donna and damn rope and snatch blocks.
Okay, that's a clip from Axemen. That's Shelby the Swamp Man, and they found a log, and he and his cousin Belinda decided to name it, and they named it Brian. And so,
yeah, I got a plan to capture Brian today. I'm gonna bring Belinda and Donna and damn rope and snatch blocks. Snatch that son of a bitch on out of there. Yeah,
now, out there, are you hearing any buzz in that? Okay. Let me send this over here.
Yeah, I got a plan to capture Brian today. I'm gonna bring Belinda and Donna and damn rope and snatch blocks.
Here's something I use a ton. Leveler. Say you have a voiceover artist that does not know how to stay on mic. Or an actor that kind of likes to do this and then kind of move away and then come back. Well, you can go in there and you can go for really crazy mixing, or you can, let me show. Let's watch our clip gain. There's our clip gain line. Or you can have this do it for you.
Yeah, I got a plan to capture Brian today. I'm gonna bring Belinda and Donna and damn rope and snatch blocks. Snatch that son of a bitch on out of there.
I see you like that. But we're not done yet. Now, networks today are really, really very persnickety about loudness. Everything's got to have a dial norm of -24. And, but that's okay, because good folks at Isotope gave us this. This is the ITU 1770 protocol or whatever for loudness normalization. If I want this to be 24, now you can see the moment I selected it, it told me that the integrated was 27, the max was 23, true peak was -8.7. I can just hit that, and it puts me right exactly where I want to be.
Or is this just for small sections?
Brian today.
You can do it for a whole, if you've got a big long interview or something.
Dialogue, a couple tracks of dialogue and get it in range.
Yeah, you can. The only thing I don't like it for is if I know I'm going to have to go back and re-edit stuff. I've used it on VoiceOver. If you do it on VoiceOver for like an hour show, you may want to do it during your lunch, because this thing's going through and analyzing everything and creating all these envelopes and loudness profiles and basically putting that all together. I'm sorry? Yep. Batch Commander. Yes.
Sometimes I get dialogue that is from a show that's got like somebody's talking on the phone and they're cutting back and forth, right? Sometimes it's clean and sometimes it's futz. But I need it to all sound clean. Can you deal with that? I mean, I saw a plugin at AES that I think would handle it, but
I've got plugins that do the opposite. I'm sure we all the futzing. I've never tried to unfutz something on here. It's a really good point. It's nothing I've ever had to try to do.
I have a picture, but I need the line to be clean.
got it. Well, I don't have an...
It may have been pre-treated coming from the show.
Oh, I see.
Right, so I don't have it clean.
I don't have anything futzed in here, but tomorrow I'm going to go do it. That's...
Is taking away, and if it's already taken away,
Well,
how do you...
I saw a plugin at AES that called Unfiltered that did it. It blew my mind.
I've got Unfiltered. Yeah.
That'll do it. I'm just wondering if
That's
in
really
the,
not what RX does. Now, I know.
EQ match is not going to dig out something like that.
No, it will basically try to force the FUT stuff into a range where the non-FUT stuff is. But otherwise, it's really designed more for for dialogue matching between takes and between mics. Yeah.
Zach Online wants to know how much in the box work are you doing these days versus in the studio?
With the mixing and all, 100% in the box. Everything I do is in the box because everything needs to be repeatable, and I need to be able to access it at any time. Not that it wouldn't be great to have a bunch of outboard gear and play around with that stuff. However, on one of these shows, I may get a network note a month later. Say, well, it already aired. Yeah, but on the future airings, we want it to do this. So I need to be able to immediately pull that show up, do the fix, send them stems. Then there are situations like, one of the first, 14 years or so ago, I mixed a show called Monster Garage. We did like 60, 70 episodes. Hadn't thought about it in years and years and years. And then they sold it for syndication. And then we had calls. Hey, on this episode, we want this element. Can you do that? And I was able to go back to my backup drives and have everything absolutely exactly the same. So that's why I'm a huge fan of In the Box.
Volume graphing, the changing, that doesn't reprint back to automation, does it? It stays inside Isotope?
It
where it'll print back and...
No, it basically commits that into it, so there's nothing to do.
Have you ever written an entire comp for LUFS measurements through this? You're just down and dirty, you need to get a 24 and had a ride?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, they've always had that capability. Luckily, I haven't had, no one really asks me to do it, but yeah, it'll certainly do that. Which is a great tool if someone throws you something and says, "Hey, I need this in 5 minutes. Can you do it?" But I hope you charge them double for that. That definitely, yeah.
So can you batch level out like a whole dialogue track and still have handles, or it gets rid of it and just makes it a consolidated track?
I have not attempted that. Is that something that batch will do? You just basically say, take all these tracks and level them out? Okay.
Is it separated, or is it one long clip?
Well, if you do a batch, it will do each of the region, each of the whole things. Well, yeah, it'll do the entire clip, not just the region, and then you'll have to make sure that it relinks. So, it's not a terribly easy process, but it's certainly something that you can do. And like I said, I use this mostly for long interviews, voiceover stuff like that. I hadn't put it on an entire track, but
On the audio suite, right? You have to actually
that needs the horsepower of the standalone version. All right, let me see what else we have here. Right. Oh, how could I have possibly forgotten this? Okay. I'm just going to throw this up here. Can anybody guess what this is? Has anybody been on a set where someone had an AT&T cell phone?
When it comes down to brass tacks, they got a bunch of crabs to go catch and 6 guys they have to make money for. When it comes down to brass tacks, they got a bunch of crabs to go catch and 6 guys have to make money for.
Okay, this was something that was the bane of my existence years ago. It was never, I mean, and because they all say, "Oh, can you get that out?" So back in RX2 or 3 days, I looked at this and thought, these look kind of like clicks to me. I wonder if I can use a declicker on it. Well, you don't have to go through all the stuff and problem that I went through, because now it's a preset. There.
When it comes down to brass tacks, I got a bunch of crab to go catch and 6 guys I have to make money for.
Okay, now, don't tell a lot of people you know how to do this, because you're going to want to bill at least an hour for that. Go have lunch or something. But yeah, because I remember talking with folks saying, "Yeah, I've been using the declicker for it, and now it's a preset, and it's really awesome, because nothing takes you out of a scene more than hearing that." Now, here is another kind of fun one that I like to play because of how it works. This was from a show. It was one of those ghost hunter type shows, and there was a medium in the house, and all of a sudden the dogs started barking and going crazy, and they're here, and it was a very tense moment, and it was this.
Yeah, they're here, absolutely. Yeah, they're here, absolutely.
Okay, that's fine, that works. The problem was the dogs were barking at the doorbell.
Yeah, they're here, absolutely. Yeah, they're here, absolutely.
Very, very mysterious, very spooky, very scary stuff. And the funny thing is that they didn't even hear this in the offline. And I was sitting there mixing and realizing, oh, they didn't hear this, and they can't hear it because it will be bad. So, yeah. I'm sorry?
Reality TV.
Oh, yeah. Hey, they couldn't put it on TV if it wasn't true. So this took basically a lot of spectral repair and attenuating all these different little pieces until we get to our final result, which was...
Yeah, they're here, absolutely. Yeah, they're here.
Sorry, that
absolutely.
makes me laugh every time I hear it. Damn.
So some noise that changes over time, is it basically you have to use spectral repair to take that out, like cicadas or something?
Well, cicadas, I've got a preset that I use on the notch filter around 8K, which gets rid of a lot of cicadas. But obviously, you sound like a man who knows his cicadas.
Yeah, well, they change over time.
Yeah, and they change with the heat.
Yeah.
They change with the temperature. So I had 2 or 3 different ones and I would go through and process each one. Now, I have not yet encountered that with the adaptive hum removal. I am working on a show that shoots in Louisiana. I haven't gotten any cicadas yet, so that is a big thing on my list to see how it handles that, because that's the first thing I would do. You can certainly do spectral repair and attenuate it or replace it, but I find that the notch filter is just a little bit quicker.
Adaptive again?
Adaptive. Here, let's go back to our adaptive. Adaptive is awesome because that thing. Okay. What adaptive does, basically, what in RX, I think it started in 3, maybe even in 2. Let me go back to this. you could in standalone, you could learn and RX would get rid of it. However, I run into problems sometimes where they're cutting between two angles and the hum goes, yeah, and that's where adaptive comes in, because adaptive will go through and follow and track as best it can to remove those changing hums. So that's what adaptive is as far as hum removal. One thing we haven't talked about, because it works so well in the background, is the dialogue denoiser, which also is adaptive. So I keep a dialogue denoiser on all my tracks, all my dialogue tracks, and it reads, listens, it finds the general broadband noise and brings it down by the amount that I tell it to. And it does it in real time with zero latency. So that's where adaptive really, really comes in handy.
So it's just it's not a real-time audio suite. That's a,
It is.
Yeah,
You can use it as a real-time audio suite, or you can, let me see if I find, you can, here's Shelby, you can, here in denoise.
I'll see you tomorrow here. Right. I'll try to get that Mars buggy fixed so we can go in there and snatch.
So there's a couple ways you can do it. The standard way would be to pick a little piece of this, learn it, and then say, okay, what can you do for me?
I'm not even going to go there with you.
I love you, ass. Be good.
All right, love you too.
See you tomorrow. Be at work tomorrow early now.
All right.
I know. I love those guys. Adaptive, you don't have to make any selections. You don't have to tell it what the noise is.
I'm not even going to go there with you.
I love you, ass. Be good.
All right, love you too.
See you tomorrow. Be at work tomorrow early now.
All right.
Don't be at the
There's
dragging
not a ton
ass.
of noise on here. But
Love you.
Love you too.
You're lying.
Afraid not. So the way I use this in my workflow is my first pass of the dialogue, I go in real time to just get a basic level. And when I do that, I put my plugin in adaptive. This is the real-time audio suite in adaptive. When I'm done, I put it back into manual. It remembers what the noise print is for all the audio in the show. So I usually keep it around, I know you can't see what I'm pointing at, can you? I usually keep it down around 6. It's just very light noise reduction. And that goes pretty much the whole way through. Then when I hit a piece of dialogue that's really bad, I'll flip that down onto my console, and I can then play with these guys in real time to really dial in that one little piece. I'll commit that piece and move on. So it has a basic noise print of everything, and then if there's anything that really, really needs extra work, I'll stop down and do that. Yeah?
When you say you take it off, attenuate to manual, is that just to save CPU the second time you're going through, or why do you take it off of adaptive?
Because if you leave it in adaptive, or actually in the audio suite it's called auto, and that means it's always running. And if I'm always automating, that means I got flashes all up and down all my tracks, and it's basically what it's doing is it's writing that same noise profile every single time. The other reason I don't is because the adaptive noise real-time dialogue denoiser works best in latch mode in Pro Tools. Everyone familiar? Anyone not know what latch mode is? Okay, bunch of geniuses. When I do most of my mixing, I like to be in touch mode. So if you run this in touch mode, it gives you a lot more nodes and a lot more stuff going on. And it's just stuff that, I just don't need it happening. Plus, it gives me an excuse to go get lunch. Okay. So what else what else I brought for you. I'm sorry?
You use deconstruct?
Deconstruct, yes. Deconstruct is one of those weird ones that I saw at the demo where they love to do the, well, let's see if we can't find ourselves a, okay. Let's, there we go. Okay. Awesome. Now, deconstruct is a really neat little piece of magic that enables you to separate the tonal properties from the noise properties. So if we're going to preview this, I'll bring down the tonal stuff. So that gives you an idea of what it can do. You like that?
Get rid of mechanical the tonal sounds of the...
I don't usually use it for that. However, let me see if I have an example. Here we go. You may want to close your ears for this because it's terrible. It's a very overmodulated scream. Yeah. Almost no way to fix that one. That's like, what? However, deconstruct does a lot more than just take chimes out of grandfather clocks. It even has a reduced distortion setting. So we'll hit it once, twice, 3 times. Not great, but this was in the background, and it certainly took all that nastiness off of it. And this was, granted, this was the worst thing I could possibly find to throw at it. So I'm going to be using this on a lot more distortion. I often use a declip and decrackle as well for getting rid of those clips, but next time I come up with a really bad thing, I'm going to deconstruct. Now, one other thing I had in here. I could show you, beeps and stuff, but you know exactly how I'm going to do that. This is from a show called Axemen again. The way they communicate when the guys are down in the rigging and they're putting the chokers on the big trees, there's a guy up at the top that ready to haul them up, and the way that they communicate are with these things they call talkie tutors, or like a little rectangular thing, and they make this sound. And the amount of, the number of tones they give it tells the guy what to do. So this was one of my personal challenges. I thought, okay, what can I make this do in one pass? Not much there, but there's certainly no tutor there either. So, not that I would go this drastic on anything, but it certainly shows you how much iZotope RX can get rid of stuff. Yeah?
How well would the deconstruct work on that particular sample?
Why don't we find out? Okay. Gets you pretty close too.
And one on the ambience. Which was the tool that you used to grab ambience out from underneath something?
Oh, ambience match.
Yeah. Would that do that better anyways?
Man, you guys are full of good questions. I like getting challenged. Yeah, well, let's find out. Okay. It's going to make it one long. Which, yeah, it's fun for that. Well, this did actually come in handy once because we had a guy screaming, "Can we curse in here?" Awesome. He was going, yes, sure I did. Okay. This guy was yelling, "Fuck!" I thought, okay, well, that's a really, really long bleep, and that's going to be really annoying. So I set ambience match on it, and basically what it gave me was, "Ah!" Problem solved. Yeah.
When you're changing the bands to 10, what are the number of bands do? What is the difference?
On spectral repair. This, I'm going to give it to you in my very third grade way of my understanding. We do have someone here from Isotope that can actually give you the technical stuff. But bands is basically like, I see it as how many frequencies it's looking at to remove. So there are some situations where it's just really a kind of a basic sound, and I don't want it to start going through and get rid of a bunch. So I'll use a very low number of bands, and if I'm wrong, you'll just make believe I'm not. And if I need a much more nuanced thing, and it's a much more complex sound, I'll use more bands. But the nice thing with this is just experiment. I spent a lot of time with RX1 before I actually sat down to read the manual, and it was great. So there's just so many cool things that you can do with this, and you know, playing around with it is really the best way to learn. We had a hand up back there. Yeah.
I was wondering about the spectrogram settings. How much do you play around with those, if ever? Because, yeah, well, I'm just curious if you ever do that.
Okay. The spectrogram, you can go from this to this. Some people.
Frequency scale?
Oh.
Right, and the algorithms that are used to draw the...
Yeah. Like basically doing like either a right click or control click on a max and then go to spectrogram settings and then the brightness.
Is that under the view?
Is that under preferences?
In the view menu.
Yeah, view.
There you go, spectrogram settings. Better frequency resolution.
Scale from like melodic to logarithmic, things like that, so that you can see more of the low end.
Yeah. Now, the stuff that I work on is not that delicate, but certainly if you were doing some music stuff, you would want to do this. And if you like other colors, or you've just had some kind of mushroom, I'm kind of hooked on this one because it's been the one we've always had, so I get really used to it. But the default is this, which is pretty good, but I do like the adaptive multi-res. Gives you really a nice look at what's in there. And it seems kind of weird, but over time, you stop not wanting to look at the waveform. I never look at a waveform anymore because this can tell you so much more about what you're looking at. As a matter of fact, let's see, where is my? There you go. If we go back to our vacation audio, I mean, I can look at that and you can immediately see what's wrong with it and what you need to do to it. So I don't really. The only time that we do use this is if I'm doing declipping. Because now I want to see the tops of the waves. Another cool thing with declicking is the suggest function. I'm big on suggestions. I'm big on adaptive stuff. These guys will tell you I'm constantly saying, can you just make this stuff do it for me? I'm really, really busy. I got a whole show to mix. And so that's what they do. I don't know what this is going to wind up. There really weren't any peaks in there anyway. But suggest and learn, I think, are two of the most powerful features of RX4 and RX3. But especially now with having it in RX4, because so rarely is all of our noise one pinpoint exact thing. It's always changing. And honestly, I don't want to have to hunt around in the spectrogram to find the annoying thing that I do not like. However, if you wanted to, what you could do, and I have done this on occasion, and this you can also use this for sound design stuff too. If I'm not exactly sure where my stuff is, so by doing that, you can move your selection around and find exactly what it is you need. You know, or you can put stuff up here and do. There you go. That'll piss off the neighbors. Actually, I think that they do have a product like this. Is it Iris? Iris, that basically takes this and puts it in a very creative package that you can use a keyboard on and really, really make some crazy stuff. How are we doing on time? I don't know who I'm asking. 8:40. Awesome. Okay. Well, I've shown you pretty much everything I can think of at this point. Do you guys have any more questions that I can, yeah?
One question about when you're doing a spectral repair or a denoise, there's a quality selection slider from A to D, I believe it is.
Yes.
I just wanted to know if that is just a step up in quality from A is the quickest and D is the best.
Exactly.
Or is one better suited to other types of noise profiles? Like,
well, both. They're both right. Yeah, A, B, C, and D is incrementally better. It incrementally uses more horsepower. So if you're going to preview in the D setting, it's going to take a lot longer to chunk away at it before you hear anything. However, I find sometimes if it's a really sort of gritty sound that I'm trying to get rid of, sometimes A works better. Sometimes D is trying to be very, very delicate and eloquent and really, you know, trying to save a lot of stuff when I just want to knock it out. So, yeah, there are times when both are going to work for you. Yeah?
You use the partials and noise setting a lot in spectral?
I don't use it a ton. I know it does some really, really amazing stuff. And I've seen it do stuff in the demos with, like, recreating sine waves and all that kind of crazy stuff. But I rarely ever have to use it. Usually, if I have to replace something, replace does it. If it doesn't, then I will go to partials and noise and see what that can do for me. Yeah.
If we're allowed to kind of break out of the isotope questions for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm kind of curious what you do as far as you're actually mixing, like as far as what kind of, you mentioned a little bit about having the dialogue denoiser on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What other kind of plugins are you using all the time for the effects and the music and everything like that? Dialogue.
Well, everything is I use different stuff for, but for the most part, every dialogue track has the DigiDesign channel strip, which came from the Euphonics console, which is a really nice EQ and compressor. I'll use that. Then after that, I go into the dialogue denoiser, and usually after that, I'll use a notch filter, because for some reason, a lot of our tracks have a hiss around 15K, and for me, not so much of a huge problem, but I have one producer who has dog ears, and he hears all that stuff. So basically, I'll notch that stuff out. And then I send it to a dialogue bus, which has another level of compression, just in case I need a little something. And actually, you know, what I'm using for that is Ozone 6. See, you thought we were going to get away from isotope, but we didn't, did we?
I wasn't sure where the boundary was.
No, I'm sure they'll throw something at me if I say something wrong. The other thing, actually, that I find is really cool with that is their a dynamic EQ. So you can basically select frequencies and say, you know, at this point I want you to attenuate it, otherwise just leave it alone.
Show us that feature.
I don't have that on here.
Should be on there.
Fine. Excellent. Let's see.
If you want to be somebody in this industry,
Let's get something a little bit better.
this industry,
All right. Okay. I guess I got to go to there we go. Oh, look, there's exactly what I was telling you about. Channel strip, denoise, 7-band EQ. Okay, here we are. Let's... Insight. Maybe not. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, they got good videos. Probably much better than me hacking my way through this. But it's a great feature. So I do that. Then I do that. Then I'll do a little bus compression on effects. I do something that's it's kind of an old trick, but it really works nicely. And you can use I use Ozone 5 for it. You can certainly use Ozone 6 for it, with which is basically monoing out the low bass. I see some heads nodding. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So just to keep the low end from just blathering all over the place, isotope. You know the one I'm talking about. Ozone has the ability of basically selecting any range of frequencies that you want and enhancing or unenhancing the stereo spread. It's a subtle thing, but I find that by monoing out the low bass stuff, it kind of gives me a little bit more room for impact, and I don't really have a lot of muddy stuff going on. So that's my big sound effects trick. Yeah.
How long do you get to mix Deadly's Catch? How much time do you get?
Deadly's Catch is, I'm lucky with that one because since it's sort of the flagship show, if if I bitch about it, they will give me more time. But usually that show takes about a day and a half to 2 days to prelay. Basically, that's sifting through everything to get me a dialogue track that actually is representative. Then I take an entire day doing nothing but noise reduction. The second day, I will do a dialogue pre-dub, which you have to do on this show because that's where more and more problems will start surfacing. So that's a combination of a pre-dub and more noise reduction. And then I can also make sure that I'm hitting my dial numbers as well. And then I start bringing in the music and the other effects. And the third day, usually I come in and give it a final listen through and then start doing things to get ready for layback, which is, on a show like Catch, I output a lot of different mixes at once. So we have the stereo mix, we have an M&E that has undipped music in it. They want an undipped music track, a music track that's undipped just for the narration, for the mix minus narration. So I basically have 3 complete sets of music tracks. Then I have 2 complete sets of dialogue tracks because on the Texas version, they don't want any bleeps because some countries have different standards than we do. Watch BBC and they say shit all the time. So we have to provide them also with unbleeped. So I do pay attention a lot to the processing I'm doing because I know every bleep that happens, I'm going to have to undo. So they can get that kind of that track as well. So it takes a while to do all that stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that never seems to get budgeted for, or no one thinks about. Well, the show's mixed. Yeah, but I have to prep all the other deliverables. And now that we're starting to go file-based with Pro Tools 11, we can go faster than real time, but it's going to be basically generating a ton of files. So it's going to be big. Yeah.
For your undipped, everybody's got their own methods and theories on providing those deliverables, but I guess as brief as you could say, like, do you use pre-fader sends on your sub buses and do it there, or do you do it on a separate pass, or is everything set up and you hit record and everything is made in one pass?
Let me see if I actually have a session here that I can show you. Because I don't do any of those things. Okay, that's the video. Where are my other sessions? Come on. Oh, here we got some sessions over here. All right, let's see. I don't have the whole thing over here. Let me find something else. I've got other stuff. There we go. I'll pull up a show and I'll show you basically how I go about doing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. No, I don't need any of you guys. Thank you very much. Okay. So let's do this. Make you guys real small. You real small. Okay. So here I got my dial. This is before it was mixed, so I'll use some of this. So this would be a regular pass. Then what I would do is bring up my undipped tracks. Oh, I hate when it does this. Just throws everything in the corner. Yeah, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'll just sit here. All right. Okay, so these are my M&E music tracks. So what I'll do is I'll copy all the music. Down to those guys. Then I actually go through and look at the highest and lowest and the basic average of the levels, and I pick the one that I think is going to work the best. It's usually somewhere, you know, on this one I would pick that guy, and if I had my little automation window up. Sorry, I hope I'm not boring everybody here. But basically, you know, I'd hold down the fader there, highlight that, do right on stop, play it, and then stop. And then the entire song, piece of music, would be at the level that I've told it. And the reason I go through each piece, because some shows, this one not a whole lot, but some shows, they like, the composer will deliver lots of stems, and they will layer them on top of each other. And sometimes certain elements need to poke out, so there are certain times that I'm going to have to remix it for the undipped version because it needs to sound like the... Exactly. Well, yes?
Jared online wants to know, what is the method to your madness for keeping organized?
I was hoping that maybe he could send me his. Okay, there actually is some method to my madness. Let's just put all this in small. Every established show that I work on has its own, for lack of a better word, logic. So when I'm starting a show, I know I'm always going to have a narration track. I'm always going to have 4 dialogue tracks. I'm always going to have a fill track, and I'm always going to have a bleep track. I like to have my nat sound on 4 tracks, music on 4. Then I keep all my backgrounds on the orange ones. Sound design for me is on the red, and then the pink are the dreaded editor effects. These are the ones that the video editor puts in to sell the show, and sometimes these are the ones that certain people will fall in love with. Well, where we made this great wind with the microphone. Where's that? So at the very end, I will go sift through all this stuff, and I'll usually pull out whooshes and anything that's good and usable. And really, they don't have access to all the stuff that I have access to. So if there's a thunderstorm, they may only have 3 or 4 thunder hits that they'll just use over and over again, knowing that I'm going to go back and replace them. Then I have tracks specifically for graphic transitions.
To the X.
So basically, every time we pan in, we have got one of those, which you can see as a group, that I keep on their own tracks. That way I can just pop them in every place that I need them. I have all my VCAs down here and my reverbs, and basically I create a template out of this. So the assistant sound editors, they have all of these tracks, and they have all the names correct, and they have all the basic elements that we want used in the backgrounds. So when they send me a session, I can import it directly in. I can match the track names, and it puts it exactly where it needs to be. And I usually don't change these once we establish it. I don't change them that much, unless there's something really big. And then, but then I got to get the editors in and say, okay, now we're doing something different. So the templates really, really helps out a lot, because here are the different mixes. We've got our comp mix, we've got our M&E, textless dialogue, textless clips, dialogue, music and effects, music undipped, effects, narration, and an M&E for the textless. Those all get output at the same time, and everything gets bused to one or more of these things. And I had the crazy idea that once I racked my brain to figure out how I was going to do it, I never wanted to do it again. So I basically saved one of the sessions as a template, so I know any effect that I put on the effect track, it's going to go to the comp mix, it's going to go to the M&E, it won't go to the dialogue, it'll go to the textless M&E, it won't go to the music, it'll go to the effects, and it won't go to the narrator. The narrator will go to the M&E, the narrator track, and the comp mix. So, or any different combination thereof. That is why I always work with a template. The other thing I do to keep myself organized is whenever I get new tracks, like say I get dialogue tracks, you can see I got a lot of playlists. I'm always duplicating my playlists. That way I can always go back, and usually the lowest level that's the OMF. That's what gets sent to us. And then this is what I get from the editors. And then anytime I start making a lot of changes, I just continually will do that. So if I need to go back to anything, I can do it easily. Or if I get to a place where I'm thinking, this dialogue sounds terrible, let me check the guide. It sounds better there. I know there's got to be a better track. I can go back to my playlists and find the audio that I need really, really quickly. So between playlists and templates, if I didn't have those, I would be a goner. So that's pretty much how I keep myself, or that and lots of coffees. And I have a pretty decent memory, so I kind of know where things are in the mix and what tracks they're on, so it's pretty easy to get around. One other thing is I mix on an Icon, and they have something called custom fader groups. If you use something with the Yukon protocol, they call them layouts. But I've got about 12 different custom fader groups of different groups of faders for the different steps that I'm going to have. So if I'm just doing dialogue and nat sound, that's all I have on my console. Dialogue 1 is always going to be here. Narration is always going to be to the left of it. Nat sound is always going to be to the right. No matter where they live in the session, they always come up on the console that way. And then at the very last pass, I have all my VCAs, so I can do any last final tuning. And then if someone says, oh, that graphic is too loud, you can go in and play with that. I just hit one button, all my graphics faders come up, and I can make the change really, really quickly. And you don't have to do the, okay, I got to find the track, or then I got to bank. So those are really the biggest things that I use to keep myself from going crazy. That and a lot of coffee. Yeah.
Chris wants to know, what is your plan of attack for microphone dropouts and static glitches? Static glitches, as we know,
I'll use RX for that. Let me find my memory locations because I actually do have one. Oh, it's not even in this one. Never mind. Let me close this out. I've got another one that exactly is what he's talking about. There was a scene in Axemen that we don't get to Foley these things, really, unless I just open up a microphone. And so we had a guy walking away, and it was like an Incredible Hulk moment. It was very sad, and you could hear the piano playing, and it was full of static. So let me see if I can find that. There we go. Is that kind of like it? This, basically, I use a combination of almost everything. On this, I used clip reduction, I used declip and declick. I used a little decrackle to get rid of some of the buzziness. Then I used replace, which the replace feature of spectral repair, to ultimately come up with that. So RX, 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 and then when I'm done with that, more RX. That's how I do it.